Cheers.
All right, welcome, boys. We've got a great night scheduled here for you. We've got some boys coming from off the reservation to join us. And quite frankly, if we didn't have these guys that are on the call with us, we'd be struggling. We got great arms and great bats and great people joining us for the 4th of July tournament, which we've all been waiting, it seems like forever for, but things are starting to become real. We've put the deposit down. We're filling out the roster. You know, there's teams to play up there. So those are all really good things. But Riles, I'm going to let you just welcome everybody and introduce us to some of these guys that we've been lucky enough to grab onto and bring onto the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said earlier, like these guys are our key pieces on our team. You've got, obviously everyone knows Pat Burns. He's played across town from us. So there's really no introduction needed. So Burnsy was one of the first guys I really wanted on our team. Big target at first base, great bat, great teammate. I've said it a million times. Michael Kinslow, I used to work with back in LA, and I know he's as gritty as they come. He's like a hillbilly version of you, Doobie. Like, let's be honest, you know, like the kid will literally die on that field to get a win. And that's why I would play with him any day of the week. And then we have John Fierro via the Mayer brothers. And we said earlier, if the Mayer brothers recommended somebody, he's got to be a gamer. And I heard he calls a great game. He blocks everything, and he's got a fucking missile for an arm. So you got Kinslow behind the dish, John Fierro behind the dish. You have Randy Ladd that can fill in for some innings. And I think Jeff Mayer said he could. And obviously Burnsy could too. But I think now we're an area where we were kind of having some opportunities behind the dish, you know, with some guys that couldn't commit, couldn't make it. Now we're pretty strong. So when you look at that lineup and you look at depth, every position has at least 2 guys, sometimes 3 guys behind them, because we're going to be playing 5 or 6 games in a matter of three days. So for someone to say they're going to play all 6 games, I would tell them they're fucking on drugs. It's not going to happen. So again, thank you guys for coming, being on the show. Dubes is going to take it over, but I am thrilled to play with all of you, and I'm looking forward to playing with Burnsy again. But take it away, Dube.
Yeah. So just one thought on filling out the roster. I think you need people everywhere, but the pitching and the catching piece of this at our ages, or at any age, but really for an older tournament, you know, we're talking about older 40 tournament or over 35 tournament, whatever it is, Rouse, you got to have pitching and you've got to have people that can catch. And so we're just thrilled to have those pieces in place here with you guys joining the team. So I want to start with John first, if I could.
Yep.
John, tell me a little bit about your playing days. You know, when I know you're playing now, but tell me a little bit about your background, you know, maybe what level you made it, you know, you play in high school ball. Where'd you play high school ball? Did you get to play in college or anything beyond that?
Played in high school ball here in Ohio, in Canton, Ohio, actually, St. Thomas Aquinas. We and a little bit after into college. Didn't play for our college team, but we played. Canton has they call it a Class A ball. Played there, and honestly, have really been playing. Haven't stopped playing. Moved back to Columbus about 25 years ago, and have been playing ever since. So. Did the softball circuit, you know, for about 2 years, and that was about it. And then we got back into baseball and have been doing that ever since. And honestly, probably caught 95% of the games that since I've been back here. So it's been a lot of fun. I like getting back into it.
When you saw that softball, you know, community, because I know that's a whole scene, and and then I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but
no.
You kind of dipped your toes there and said, hang on a second, I got to go back.
Yeah, it's not the same. I you know, that's a I like to drink the beer, not while I'm playing. It's when you're playing, and the level of commitment's not there with the softball, and that's kind of why I like to come back to baseball.
That's awesome.
There's also a thing with the softball where, depending on the type of baseball player you are, there's not a skill transfer over. Like a lot of your skills you use on the baseball field. I mean, look, if there's a stick and a ball, I'm going to play it softball with
absolutely.
Whatever. So if someone calls me up right now and says, hey, can you come play softball? We'll all go play.
Right.
Yep.
But being in that world and playing on a consistent basis, there's a lot of skill. I'm 5'7". If I can't take 2 bags every time I get a walk or a single, like there's not much value there for a softball team.
That's a good point. That's a great point, actually. There's these softball lifers. It's almost like it's a culture, and they have a build and they have an attitude and they have, it's not even, it's almost like a different sport. That was my impression of it, you know?
So,
Yeah.
dude, it's funny that you say that. I got to chime in. So I've been hitting Burnsy. Don't laugh. I've been going to the cages, right? I've been going to the cages, and I'm with my middle daughter, and like I'm rolling in, and I have my old wooden bat. I look like a bum. And these guys that are rolling up in softball uniforms, full sponsored bags, like it's the stereotypical softball player, right? So Harlow's like, "Hey, Dad, how come you don't play with them? Like, do you play softball like those guys?" I was like, "No, Daddy plays a real sport."
That's
right. They flipped. They were so mad at me, and I was like, we probably better get out of here, H. Like, let's get out of here.
That's right.
Funny story.
I mean, look, I'm going to get called every year to play in 2 softball games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just every year it's going to happen. At some point, someone's going to be like, "Hey, can you come?" And I'll always go play.
Sure.
I'll always go play. It'll be a fun time. But I think the good thing about it, though, is I'll go play, and about 4 innings in, you're going, "Man, I love baseball."
Yeah.
I just love it, you know?
Yeah. It's a whole different ball game, whole different mindset.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and Mike, to your point, you know, you go play a game or two and that's fine, but to play, some of these guys play 40, 50, 60 games. They travel, they play tournaments in Florida, things. I mean, it's just, hey, that's fine. Like, whatever, you know, maybe that's better than bowling. I mean, I have no idea, not to make fun of that. My dad still bowls. I mean, Jesus, but.
Yeah, easy on the bowling. Come on, I do that every once in a while too.
I didn't know. So here's the thing: a big struggle with softball is I didn't know the rules. So baseball, right? Ball's inside, turning it to third. Ball's outside, going to right. Ball's down the middle. I am putting it right up your throat. And so this softball guy kept throwing the ball, lobbing it right on the middle. I'm hitting it right at his freaking Adam's apple. And they are cussing me and yelling at me. I'm like, "Quit throwing it over the middle of the plate. I hit here, or here. Like, quit throwing it there, and I will quit hitting it there."
That's right.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely like verboten. Just you don't go up the middle, and it's, you know, it's like religion to them for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to ask you. So the story goes that you played NAIA baseball collegiately, and that you went to, you know, a historically Black college. So just tell us a little bit about how your journey landed you where you ended up.
So I left Riley and from California, and I actually moved back here, and I'd actually gotten a job in Louisiana, and then I ended up back in Mississippi. It's where my wife was. And there's a school called Tougaloo College. Martin Luther King Jr. stayed on campus at Tougaloo. Medgar Evers was at Tougaloo. Like all this. Tougaloo was at the forefront of the civil rights movement. It's right in Jackson. You hear a lot about Jackson State because that's where Deion Sanders is now. Right. But Tougaloo is the private college, about 1,000 students. They are like almost like Ivy League South, right? They have a partnership with Brown, and so they're a small school. And anyway, so they had a club team for years, and so I knew guys. And I'd always played men's league baseball. Like I played ball in California and played competitive ball here. Here, we actually start our season tomorrow here. So I have a game tomorrow at 4:30. And it's 18 and up. Like these cats ain't playing around. Like I can't tell you how many times we've showed up to play in a men's league here, and dudes up there just dealing, and you're like, this guy is on fire. Like, yeah, Royals cut him 6 months ago. You know, it's like, it's 23 years old. He is pissed off, and he's like, I am facing these 40-year-olds, and I am angry about it. So I'd always played in those kind of leagues and things like that. And, you know, so this school, Tougaloo, it had a club team that was starting a varsity team. They had actually gotten another women's sport. So it was like reverse Title IX. They had gotten another women's sport, so then they had to add another men's sport. Yep. So they added baseball because they already had the field and they already had the stuff. And so this old curmudgeon coach was there. Actually, Randy Ladd, when Brian added me to the group, Randy knew a couple of the guys. And so he messaged me and was like, "Do you know the Clyburns?" I was like, "Well, I played with one of their sons," and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, this old curmudgeon coach that had been around Jackson, Mississippi his whole life, he was the assistant there, and then this other guy. Well, I was actually trying to help a friend of my brother's. My brother had gone off to the Navy, and this guy was home, and he had just graduated high school, and he was looking for a place to play. He'd gone to Ole Miss and then transferred. So he was looking for a place to play. So I started making some calls for him, and I called Tougaloo. Like, hey, they're like, yeah, come out. We have an open tryout. I was like, awesome. This was around December before the season started. And so I took him to the tryout where the old curmudgeon coach was like, why don't you get out there and take some cuts? I was 32 years old. And I was like, yeah, I'll take some cuts. My deal was I was trying to leverage it to go back to school so that I could be like a graduate assistant coach. I wanted to be a coach. I hadn't got my degree yet. So I was like, well, I'll kind of go and kind of be a coach. A new team would be a great place for me to learn, get into the college game. And he was like, why don't you take some cuts? I was like, yeah, I'll go out there and cut. Long story short, I worked out. I left. They offered me a baseball scholarship like 3 days later. Said, if you want to come play, you come play for us. I never forget. I was on my phone with I was on the phone with him. And I looked at my wife and I was like, can I go play baseball? And so she's like, we'll talk about it. And nice. So they offered me and the kid that I took. So it was one of my brother's good buddies. So we go on and play. And so I went from working with Brian Riley at Express. I went from working at Express 50 hours a week to all of a sudden, in the course of about 3 weeks, being a full-time college student and a college baseball player. And so it was interesting. We're in the NAIA, so we play like William Carey, some big baseball schools, and we played a lot of Canadian kids. Like we played LSU Shreveport, a lot of Canadians. I don't know how they get that pipeline.
Pipeline, yeah.
Yeah, and then we played a lot. We played like University of Mobile. And these grown ass men would walk out there. How's you doing? Like no English. Like what you doing? One guy's in the league. I mean, he's in AA, and he was a center fielder. And he looked like a grown ass man. And he was like, "How's you doing?" And he would come in there and say, "Very good today. Very good game." And just raking. I mean, like, oh my God! I threw him a cut fastball. I came in relief and threw him a cut fastball. He swung so hard, y'all. It was the hardest hit ball straight up I've ever seen in my life. Our first baseman went like this, put his hands down, and then went back up and caught it. Like, it was ridiculous. Dude, and so the NAI is weird like that because you get those guys they've slipped through the cracks. And that was the deal with me because I played 1 year of redshirt football. So I had no eligibility in NCAA, but I had all 4 years in NAIA. And so ended up playing because you have to use them up.
Well, just a quick thought on NAIA because, I played at Central Connecticut, and my senior year, we went on our Florida trip, and we played at NAIA schools, Mount Vernon Nazarene. And so when you're an NCAA kid and you're a Division I player and all this shit, and you play an NAIA school and you're like, all right, let's go, let's play these bums. And so I'm pepping up the team before we take the field and, rah and all this stuff. And we get out there and the first 3 guys hit for the cycle, or the first 4 guys hit for the cycle, double, triple, single, homer, 3-run homer. We lost. And like the kid on the mound was, he got drafted. I mean, it was like through our best, they destroyed us. It was an embarrassment.
And the crazy thing was some of those guys, like the NAIA guys, like I don't know what the rule is. Like we had a guy on our team who spent 3 weeks in the developmental league with the Orioles.
Yes. There's no rule for that. Right.
Yeah, because he did not sign. Right. He only was on like a per diem because he did not sign a contract.
Yeah.
He was able to come play NAIA. So if you got guys, you got some slip through the crack. They call it the prison league. Like the NAIA football teams are full of guys that have been in prison. Like, and they get out.
And that's perfect because what it is because they've removed some of these like policies, it's just a catch up, and they get studs that are, kind of broken.
Crazy.
But they're loaded. They're just absolutely loaded. So Mike, that's awesome stuff. That's just incredible.
Dude, I have to tell you the first game. So the first game we go down to Loyola in Louisiana, and word traveled really fast that there's a 32-year-old guy on the team, right? Word traveled really fast. So our coach was telling people about it, And so I didn't start the first game. We had like a 4 outfielder rotation. And so I didn't start the first game. And so I come in and pinch hit. I hit a pop fly in the first game. But I started the second game. First at bat, I get a walk, take off, steal second. I mean, just steal second easy. The pitcher wasn't looking. I ain't knew a 32-year-old guy. I was like, yeah, but I'm 5'7". I'm getting it. And so I take off, steal second. Y'all, not only did our team hammer that catcher, his team, that dude's 32 years old. I mean, they hammered that catcher. They hammered that dude. Like, you just had a 32-year-old dude run on you, bro. I mean, they hammered that dude. It was pretty awesome.
That's great, man. I love that. What an awesome story, playing at that age. And
yeah,
that's what we're all trying to do. Just keep this game going.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Burnsy, let's talk to you for a second. So, for those people that are going to watch this, that don't know your story, cause you have a really great path from Enfield Little League, like, Brian and I, and a bunch of the guys that are going to watch this, and then you go to Fermi, but then you're there for couple of years, and then you have some opportunities. So talk us through playing at Fermi and then saying, you know what, now I'm gonna kind of take my talents elsewhere because it's a better path for me. Because I think that's a good story.
Yeah. So started at Fermi, did 3 years there, as we remember. A lot of good battles against each other.
Without a doubt.
I guess I couldn't handle you guys anymore, so I had to move on, or somewhere I can win a game. We did a couple of years at Suffield Academy, kind of try and get those academics where they need to be and look into schools. And, it's surprising what those kind of doors open up to you. And it's some pretty good ball teams over there.
Yeah, for sure. So Burns, talk about the difference at Suffield Academy and playing with, those teams that you played versus CCC East kind of baseball. What was the, because I always wondered about that, competition wise.
Competition wise, I mean, obviously we're talking decades ago. So, so I mean, even if you look at them now, the prep schools now, it's off the charts when you see those kids over there. I mean, they're men that are running around those campuses. I mean, I see the football teams there now compared to when I was there. I've seen like highlights of their 7-on-7s. And I mean, the kid from Suffield Academy 2 years ago, I think, is at Miami now. So, I mean, just to say that, the athletes are off the charts. But I mean, even that. So there were just so many teams that the top 4 kids were just legitimate ball players. I mean, they were, you get the top 1-2 pitchers are throwing 90, just dropping hooks. I mean, they're all post grads. All the kids are 19. It's just impressive.
Yeah.
But it's even more so like with what we did over there. Our coach would be doing split squad games in the middle of the season. We take one team, you go play in a JV college team. The other team would play, the local high school team. And they, the local high school team's excited because they're playing the prep school team. Unbeknownst to them, it's only half our team. So it's just, you get a lot of games in too. So you're not stuck to the 20 games. I think, we played like 20 league games. We played probably another 20 on top of that.
Right. So definitely a great opportunity for sure. And then after that, you moved on to Barry there for a short time, right? And then transferred on to URI. So just talk a little bit about that path too.
Yeah, I went to Barry down in Miami. Yeah, that was a completely different world. I mean, we talk about let's go south to play baseball. I think it went too far south. I think I missed an exit or two. It's it was interesting because it was a good mix of, I mean, you take 25% of the kids were from right in that Miami area. 25% of the kids were from like, Ohio, Illinois, out that area. Another 25% from, the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, New England. And then your last 25% are from the islands.
Yeah.
And
wow.
They just bring a different perspective. I remember we're on the field one day and it's hailing out. And I mean, the hail is coming down, pounding the field. But we're out there, it's still 80 degrees. We're out there in shorts. All the guys from the north, their shorts, t-shirts and whatnot. One of the kids turns around and looks at us. Is this what it's like up by you guys when it snows? And you just got to, these 20 guys and turn and look at him. guy, it's 80 degrees out here. What are you talking about? But I mean, it was, the baseball was fantastic. I mean, it was, you'd get the month of March where the teams would come down for spring break, and it was just like feasting on lambs. I mean, I think we won like 30 games in a row, because it just, they'd be coming down for their first game after, we're 25 games into our season. And I mean, it was just, we had one guy, submariner, probably threw like 85 and had a sub-1 ERA on season. Just ridiculous. And it was different baseball, but I think I went too far south. It was probably a little bit different. There was no seasons. There was no fall, winter. It was summer, and then the leaves fell off the palm trees, and it was summer again.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
we came back up, and plus there's always the thing, even though it was definitely better ball, is always that thing. You want to play D1 ball. It's the calling. So we did this. You like the D1. That's what I wanted. And, the opportunity was there. So that's what I went and did.
Yep. Yeah, that was great. I got to say, one of my favorite moments was in a fall game where we got to play against each other. You were behind the dish, and I had an at bat, and I was just like, we had made it, I think both of us probably wanted to squeeze a little bit more out of our careers, but we made it, and we were there from, little league, high school ball, playing together, Legion, playing together, Twilight. And then there we were, Pat Burns was a Rhode Island Ram, and Mark Doobie, found his way to Central Connecticut. And that was a good moment. We've had quite a few of them, either as teammates or up against each other. But I remember that one. That was pretty cool.
Hey, the teammates is fun. I think our best times have always been against each other.
Yeah, that's
always competing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just fun. But it's good to look. I mean, as we're getting old now, you can look back. It's one thing that no one can take away from us is, we played D1 ball.
That's right. Yep.
And it's, not a lot of people get to say that. And even just college ball in general, is not a lot of people that get to say it.
Absolutely. I think that's really, a great point. And, when you're doing it, when you're in the middle, even, I know we even giggle about high school, but we just got the season started here today in Connecticut, Enfield High won, and there's a bunch of kids that got cut. We all of us on this chat right now, we all made the team. We were all starters, at some point we're all stars somewhere. But for as fortunate as we are, there's a ton of kids that never even got a hat, they didn't get a shirt. And so I don't know. I think sometimes it's important to remind yourself of that. And so, hey, Brian, Mike's been sitting waiting here, so I want to let him in, and we'll talk to Mike Mayer. We'll let him join here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's see if he's been waiting a while.
Yeah,
Brian.
I think Burnsy, I don't know if he remembers this, but I think I was a sophomore, and those games we had with Fermi at the Hollow.
Yep.
When it was Burns, it was Dumoulin. Pat, did you play with Eric White? For some reason,
Yep.
You did, yeah.
I think so. I know it was definitely Legion. I'm pretty sure we played.
We always bang on Fermi, jokingly, as they do us, as far as not having athletes or not, you know what I mean? Being the second best school and
Sure.
But those games when I was a sophomore and I went into Potter Hollow and I was playing short because Turk was pitching. Burns hit a fucking rocket at me at short, one-hopped me, almost hit me square in the dick. And it left this big welt. And I was like, this kid can hit, man. And then Dumoulin gets up, hits a home run. So those Fermi guys, man, I remember the sophomore year that I played at Enfield High, Fermi was loaded with talent. And obviously Burnsy was the leader of that team, but I'm excited to play with Pat. Eric is playing with us, Pat. And I mentioned Dumoulin earlier. He's been reaching out to me. He's been kind of testing the waters, as far as coming back and playing. But I think that could be fun for all of us to play together again, because that's my favorite memory of Enfield Fermi was playing at the Hollow against you guys.
And Riles, real quick, if I could, and we want to talk to Mike Mayer, who's joined us. Mike, how you doing? Can you hear me? All right. It looks like he's got some connectivity issues, but we'll make sure to get with him. But real quick about Pat. So you guys, John and Mike, the Enfield Fermi game is Ohio State, Michigan, whatever whatever rivalry you want to talk about, that was just in every sport, mostly football, hockey too. Football, hockey was just
hockey was off the charts.
ridiculous.
I mean, you think of how many people used to show up for those games?
Exactly. And they were both good. That's the thing. Enfield and Fermi baseball were very marginal, like we're just okay, but it was just still, your heated rivalry. So we're playing a tight game. And scores tied, or Enfield High's up by 1. There's 2 outs. We've got our best pitcher on our mound. He's going to be playing with us too. His name is Ray Turek. He gets somebody to pop up. We muff the pop up. We drop it. Okay. There's a confusion between me and the second baseman. It's an easy play. We muff it. It falls. So Burns comes up 2 on.
Sounds like you're being very politically correct, because I don't remember the story always being that nice.
Well, we're grown up now, and as the years go by, the scars.
It was Brett Ferry, by the way, that muffed that ball.
Yeah,
The scars have healed.
the scars have healed somewhat. So the ball falls in there anyway, and Pat gets a great pitch and just destroys it into right center. 3-run homer. They take the lead. They don't take back. That's like the 6th inning too. The game is basically over at that point. It was just unbelievable. Like, that's Pat Burns. Like, it's the guy you wanted on your team. Even though we battled, when we got to play together, to have you in the lineup, hitting a double, hitting a homer, just going out after the games, just being friends, going to Myrtle Beach all those years that we did. Just a guy you wanted to be around. And to me, that's the gift of this. We're going to go compete. It's not a dog and pony show. We all get to be together again, and make some new friends, but be reunited with some brothers. So I'm really excited about that. So,
Hey,
that's
dude.
one thing we talk with the boys about. I have 2 sons, 8 and 11, and it's
Right.
always like, they're always, or 9 as of yesterday, turned 9 yesterday, 9, 11. And they're always like, Dad, how do you know him?
Yeah.
Right. Every time we meet people, he's like, how do you know him? And I played with that guy, or I played against that guy. Those are the best ones. Like, it's I played with him. That was my teammate. That was my second baseman, whatever. But the best is when you're like, I played against that guy. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, for 8 years from junior high till we graduated, I competed against that guy in every sport we played, like across town, like played against, like, so it's so funny to hear that,
It's great
to
stuff.
explain that to them, like all of the people that we know, that I see, it's like the fingers of baseball that just go out, in the world. I mean, look at here. I'm talking to guys from Connecticut, right? I mean, like, it goes like that, right?
And Doobie, you met Randy. You have a connection to Randy Ladd.
That's great.
So John and Mike, like, in case you guys don't know Randy Ladd, who will be with us playing in Cooperstown, was our coaches. So, dude, you can explain this better. So, our coach has coached since 1967 in Enfield High. Randy Ladd was his original catcher. He was the first catcher at Enfield High under our coach's team.
Yeah.
And he still plays, and he's going to be playing with us.
That's awesome.
It's an incredible story, John. Like, Mike can talk, Doobie can talk better about it. We have 6.5 minutes. I know you want to talk to Mayor, so go ahead, Doob.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, can you hear us? Yeah, I see he's on with us. I don't know about his audio or if his mic is on. Mike, just check your audio and see if we can't get you to say a few words here before we have to.
He'll need more than 6.5 minutes.
I'm telling you. Well, here's the thing, John, and he needs his own hour.
That's right.
And so does Pat. We got to get to that at some point so we can go over all the old stories and that kind of thing. But
I don't know if we want to go through all the old stories.
Yeah, we do.
just God, I wanted to bring a few of them up tonight, but
At least not on recorded line.
That's right. That's true. But there's a few really good ones. But I mean, if we can get Mike on, hopefully, I'll tell a story real quick, and I know John can too. John, you're been a longer teammate of Mike's than I have, but I had the honor of playing with him for one summer. And you said before we went live that he pitched, back-to-back games and back-to-back doubleheaders, and I watched him do it too. I couldn't believe it. It was a hot Sunday. He'd come from one other park on some other team he's on. He threw 7 or 9, and then he starts for us. 9-inning game. He goes into the 7th with like 7 in the 3rd. And then a lefty came up and we had a crafty lefty and he said, all right, take it over from there. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And it's not fluffy. He doesn't throw fluff. There's pace. And then there's a weird curveball. And then there's a corner changeup. And then there's a hard, like the fastball's got zip to it. I'm like, who is this guy? And it's just, that's what he is. He's a ball player. He conditions his arm. He conditions his brain. He conditions his body. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, but inside the wheels are turning. He's always thinking. And it's just nuts. I watched that and I loved playing right field. There wasn't hardly a walk, you know, and it had a little bit of softball. That league I was in, and John, you can talk about this too. There's a little softball culture in 40-year-old baseball. They know where the fuck everybody's going to hit the ball. Doobie,
right?
In, like play behind the second baseman. I'm like, I'm playing right field. No, move in. And sure enough, there it is. The ball's right in your glove. So it's a wild, you know, even adult wood bat baseball has its own sort of culture. But John, a couple thoughts on Mike, if you would, because like he's one of the most unique athletes I've ever seen in my life. No doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
Because Doobie, he plays with Jeff, I think still.
Yes.
Yeah, I play with Jeff still during the summers, and Mike we played with a couple of times during some tournaments.
Yeah,
the dude competes 100%. When he's playing baseball, he's playing baseball. You know, he's 100% into the game. Right. It's and like I said, from pitch one to the last pitch he's throwing, there's no difference. I mean, his conditioning is outrageous. You know, he tells us about, you know, him swimming the English Channel 3 times, and he wants to go up and back. And now he's decided to swim around Manhattan now. I was like, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, to play with him has been a lot of fun. Like you said, the best part of it is you know, you play the baseball, you play the game with him, but then after the fact, hanging out with everybody and kind of just having beers. He's just the nicest guy you've ever met.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and for Michael and for Burnsy, you know, Mike, he's going to swim around Manhattan again. He's swum the English Channel, and you know, like he's run multiple marathons. I mean, the story of his athletic prowess, and he's one of 4 brothers, and they're all stud athletes: basketball, baseball. You know, just unbelievable. The 4 of them, they're all legendary. So, Riles, couple thoughts?
Man, no, nothing. Like you said earlier, the motion is in place as far as the deposits paid. John, I'm gonna need your number request, uniform sizing, and all that, and that will the jerseys are the full uniform gets ordered in 2 weeks.
Right.
Places to stay. I can kind of text you. We're still looking at renting a house.
Okay.
But it's all in motion. I mean, the only thing that I can tell you guys, they said to me, there's 4 registered teams right now in our division. And for some reason, if there's not a 45 and over or a 25 and over, they said there could potentially be a combination of all of those age brackets.
Okay.
So we're going to keep a couple spots open in case they do a 25, which they said they're not going to, but if they do, I would like to take like a Pete Kelly with us. Couple of the younger guys that played with Brummins at the end, and Gouch, especially Gouch. Lineup is loaded, man. So the catchers, so John and Mike and Pat, if you catch, like you got 7 or 8 legit pitchers that are going to be throwing. I mean, if you want to go through it, dude,
nice.
We have less than a minute, so I don't have time, but
yeah,
it's great to have you guys, man. I'm thrilled to meet John. Burnsy, it's always good. Kinslow, always good. And we'll see you in like 80 days, man. It's gonna fly by. Stay in shape, and then we'll keep posting. We'll keep you guys updated. But it's gonna be a fun weekend. And the games are Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Great.
Sounds good,
guys. Awesome job. That was really remarkable. I'm looking forward to just being in a lineup with you guys and playing baseball. It's been really awesome. So Mike, John, Burnsy, awesome. Thanks, Riles. Everybody have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Take care.